Welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast, the only podcast about all things waterfowl. From hunting insights to science-based discussions about ducks, geese, and issues affecting waterfowl and wetlands conservation in North America, we bring the resource to you. The DU Podcast with your host, Chris Jennings.
Joining us today is the founder of Gunner Kennels, Addison Edmonds. Addison, welcome back to the DU Podcast.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. It's great to have you back. And, before we get into your new dog, Gunner's new products, we haven't had you on since kind of early fall of last year. I think you guys just returned from your Minnesota trip, but we didn't really get to catch up on, how your duck season was last year. I've been trying to, when I talk to people, I like to always get a little bit of a feedback from everybody. So how did your duck season wrap up?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was weird with not having a dog. And so I did a lot more deer hunting, but I still had a lot of duck hunts in Arkansas and Louisiana. We actually did a Ducks Unlimited hunt down there close to Venice, a cast and blast. That was a lot of fun and met some great guys there. And then I kind of rounded out December and January bouncing around the Southeast, really. It just kept the feeling was so weird being not having Gunner. It was fun watching other dogs and it makes you miss your dog more. But overall it was a great season and we finished it in Kentucky with a 8-man limit. I take that back. That was the last day of regular season. Then I took my 7-year-old on a youth hunt, I think that next weekend. And we actually didn't cut a feather, but it was really cold, but my girl had a lot of fun and it kind of really energized me for the next few years as they're getting into hunting, just being able to take them and then enjoy it and understand what's going on and just introducing them to the outdoors is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and and introducing kids, we've had that conversation on this podcast many times. That's a totally different aspect of it, just like when we talk about retrievers, when you're introducing a new retriever to things and it kind of has a different, kind of like you said, it kind of motivates you a little bit and rejuvenates, I guess you can say that. One thing I'll ask you though, just being curious, because I take my 8-year-old every once in a while, 8-year-old girl, where'd you find gear for her?
That's a great question because I've taken her deer hunting and dove hunting, but she'd never gone duck hunting, and I knew it was going to be cold. And we were at a spot that we could drive a 4-wheeler all the way up to the blind, and she didn't necessarily need waders. I had some for, but she didn't like them. I was borrowing them from one of my buddies, and I think Andrew, one of my buddies gave me a bunch of clothes for toddlers. And so we just stacked them on her and put some boots on. And I brought a little heater and actually brought to stand up in the blind because there was a little water and she just couldn't see over the edge. I brought the top half of a couple small Gunner Kennels as a little step stool for them to step up on and be able to shoot. But it was one of the coldest mornings I hunted, but we brought a bunch of heaters, and if she said her feet got cold, I'd take her shoes off and put her up against the heater, and it worked out great. And I think there was 4 or 5 kids on that hunt. They all had an absolute blast.
That's fantastic. I know that's just the logistics of the first couple times when you take your kids and they don't really know what to expect. You don't know how they're going to react necessarily, and then add in the fact that it's going to be really cold. The logistics of all that can just be a disaster sometimes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like every hunt that I go on, it ends up being a cluster somehow. Same with fishing. Just like everything I do, the motor breaks or something goes wrong. And so it's a little nerve wracking taking a 7-year-old, making sure that it's going to be, fun and not, I remember that time we almost died in the river.
Yeah.
But no, it was all good.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. And, last time you were on, you had your friend Corey on with you as well, and you guys did the Minnesota trip, and you were kind of hinting at you were thinking about getting a new puppy. And I know last time, just recently, you guys were here at National Headquarters. You guys came over for a visit, and you mentioned that you got the new puppy. So can you just give us a little bit of an update on that process and what's the puppy's name and how that whole thing's going?
Yeah, so I was still wallowing around and what kind of dog to get, and I really wanted a chocolate, and unfortunately we had a family dog that was ran over on Christmas Eve, and she was just like 6-month-old poodle, which was awful. And the kids actually took it a lot better. You know, there was like, oh, she's in heaven now, great. And we thought we got to get a dog like tomorrow. So I called my buddy Barton Ramsey at Southern Oak Kennels. I said, I need a dog. He said, great. Somebody had just told him that they weren't able to get a dog out of a specific litter, and it kind of worked out perfect where I picked him up in, let's see here, probably right after duck season. So right in February, we picked him up, and we were able to get some footage of getting him for the Thank You Gunner video that we did. And his name's Chevy. He's a red lab, which is just a dark yellow lab. And I have been, it's weird going from old season vet to new puppy, that everything's new. And plus with all the kids we've got in the business, is just, I was really concerned I wasn't going to have enough time to train them. And I kind of thought it through of, well, if I don't, I know that I can send them and have them trained, but I'm going to give it my best go. And took him everywhere to work, and started swimming when it warmed up, and he's doing really good. I've been traveling mostly for work for like the last month and a half. And so I took him up to my buddy that's a trainer in Kentucky, and he's training him right now. I thought I was getting him back this weekend, but we're doing his first hunt test next weekend, the Western Kentucky HRC. And so I'm going to take the kids up there. And I've never really been too involved in hunt tests. I wish I did with Gunner, but I'm excited to try to play that game with Chevy, because I want to learn more about it. And it's just so interesting. And so he's going to be doing his first hunt test, and I get him back, and I'm going to see how well I do. It's been about a month and a half without him, which we miss him, but it's also with how much travel and how much time a young puppy needs. I'm glad that a professional's handling that right now. But he sends me videos every day, and he seems to be progressing pretty well. He's got a lot of drive, which is good, because I know how to work with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exciting. If he's doing his first hunt test, he's well on his way then. That's exciting. Was there anything that, you kind of looked at going into this with the new puppy that you were like, this is what I want to do that maybe Gunner didn't do, or that Gunner did well that you want to make sure that this dog does well? Is there anything like that really stuck into your mind?
Yeah, there's a bunch. And there's also a problem of personally not knowing how to fix it. But so as Gunner got older, he became aggressive with other male labs. So it was always hard to take him to a camp and just keep all the dogs separated. So I really wanted to socialize him as much as I could, which I thought I did a decent job with Gunner. I think he's very alpha. And so, I don't want to socialize him a lot better. Gunner started to be vocal a little bit later in life when it was a slow day. And, that can be an issue. And that's another one of those things is how do you, negate that? But trying to pay close attention to that. And then little things like, for some things that I picked up where if I blow the whistle slowly, like a ding, 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 and I think we might have talked about this in the last one, but it means stick your nose to the ground. The duck's between me and you, or teaching them dead, which means put your nose to the ground and hunt. And I've started incorporating that as we're progressing on his training, but, really focusing on just the basic obedience. He's got enough drive that, the rest of it will come pretty easy. And I've heard, even if he can do great stuff at a young age, keep it simple and maybe don't hunt him as much the first year. I just don't know life's too short. I just don't know if I can do that. And so I'm planning on taking it easy, but probably hunting him this upcoming season.
So how old would he be, like right at a year?
Yeah, it'll be right under a year, like 11 months.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, I know guys who hunt them younger than that, and I know guys who like to hold them till they're a little older, So
yeah,
I think depends on the dog.
It's like a kid. Yeah, it's like if your kid's old enough and ready to go hunt, like why would you want them to do that? But it's also, I guess I understand trying to advance the dog too much where, oh yeah, my 1.5-year-old dog can do 400-yard blinds like that. You can see issues down the line with that. So really just taking it easy and remembering that it's a new dog and, everything is new to him and really working on the bond between him and I.
No, that's great. And I think that the reason why I asked that is because I kind of did that. I had an older dog, got a puppy, and was kind of making the decisions of this dog to do that this other dog didn't do or did well, like I mentioned. And one of those things for me was my older male grew up in Indiana, where I was before I moved down here, and we didn't hunt out of blinds. We hunted out of the boat sometimes, but a lot of times we were hunting just like, tucked into the weeds along a river or a pond or whatever. And then when I moved down here, everyone's got these big blinds and pits, and my old male, like he didn't have nothing to do with blinds and pits. Like he hated it. And so it like really became a big issue. Like I almost couldn't take him because you go to Arkansas, everyone's in a pit, or some kind of blind, and he wouldn't do it. And so that's kind of one thing when I got my female, like I was really, really putting emphasis on, different types of hides and really kind of introducing them to different things. So it sounds like you're kind of having the same process, except, you're probably doing it a lot better than I did.
No, that could probably be argued, but I will say that reminds me, Gunner was never great on boats. I didn't hunt out of boats that much, in the early days. And so it's kind of made me realize I want to use him on a four-wheeler and use him on a boat, and just for practice, so that he's used to those situations, because he can do it in the backyard all day long, but totally different game, in a different setting with different vehicles and different hunting situations.
Absolutely. Yeah. We talk about introductions all the time. We have different trainers on here, and that's one of the key things that most of these professionals work on. So definitely it's all part of the process. But hey, moving on real quick, one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on here was to, I guess not announce, because we've sent, different information out, but, there is the new partnership with Ducks Unlimited and Gunner. So I kind of want you to talk about that and some of the unique products that come along with that partnership, and then we'll get into some other new products as well. But yeah, if you want to talk about, I guess maybe this is kind of the announcement of the partnership from our standpoint, I guess. So, let's kind of just dig into it and, what is it all about? What are the products, and what made you want to partner with Ducks Unlimited?
Yeah, it's actually a great opportunity to kind of step back and dive into really Ducks Unlimited has a part in started Gunner Kennels. When I started an advertising company, I think my junior year in college at Ole Miss, I had sponsored a Ducks Unlimited banquet, local chapters banquet, with my advertisements for the banquet. And with that, I got a table and a Yeti cooler with the Ducks Unlimited logo on the top. And actually, my old roommate, we were together the other day. He said, "I'll never forget the day that you brought that Yeti home," because I was the guy going through 6 Coleman coolers a year. I mean, we were hunting, fishing every day and breaking those coolers. And I remember just being so impressed. My old roommate said, took it home, started throwing center block on the top of it, throwing it around, like seeing how tough it really was and just being so impressed with it. But it was that cooler and kind of seeing what Yeti did to the cooler industry that pretty quickly after I thought, you know what, this dog kennel is a piece of junk. Somebody needs to do what Yeti did to the ice chest to the dog kennel. And so in the early designs and the early renderings and sketches of the kennel, once I got it kind of looking the way I wanted, the first thing I had the engineer do was put a Ducks Unlimited logo on the top, because that was one of I wrote out 35 goals on this big 4x8 sheet of plywood early on, I think like month 1 of starting the company. And there were goals that I thought, you know what, these seem impossible, but if I ever hit one, I'm going to really celebrate. And I was down there, we were filming the other day, I guess checking off the box of the Ducks Unlimited goal, and we've got a lot of those goals checked off, which is pretty cool. But it's always been a goal of mine to partner with Ducks Unlimited, and we've sold some in the past at a big discount for the local banquets, but it was never part of like the national program. And I've known y'all and the guys at Ducks Unlimited for a long time, and enjoyed getting to know everybody. But we were just never at a point that we could be a proud partner. And with this, partnership, we've got a new line of products that we can talk about in a minute, but it's real exciting to see that we're going to have, first of all, like one of my goals and one of my dreams be achieved. But second of all, we're going to have a line of products that will be helping conservation, which has always been very important to me and everybody here at Gunner. So yeah, I guess if we want to get into it, it'll be special edition Ducks Unlimited Gunner Kennels kennels and food crates to start off with, where it's the Ducks Unlimited green. It looks really good. We've been getting them in this week, and I think we launch it. You might know.
I think it's July 1, really.
Yeah. So we're going to be launching that, and I think we've always done well with limited runs of colors, like the Flyway series that we're doing in August. But with this one, having a permanent line of products that is in partnership with Ducks Unlimited, I think it's going to be really special.
Yeah, and they look great. And for listeners out there who are interested in just checking out, even before it's announced or they're opened up, or I guess it's been announced, but you can't go online and buy one right now. But we actually featured the Ducks Unlimited kennel and the food crate in the May-June issue of the magazine. So if somebody wants to thumb through there, you can go into the Gearing Up column and check that out. It looks really good. Our photo editor did a full kind of photo setup with it, and it looks great. So, if anyone just wants to check that out, that's awesome. It's exciting. And you mentioned, and just kind of touch on that, you mentioned a couple weeks ago when you were here in Memphis that green color has really done well in the past, and that's kind of why you chose that for like the DU color.
Yeah, our first Flyway series was the Mississippi Flyway, and what we do is we focus on a certain area that's got a lot of history with duck hunting and waterfowl, and so Emily, my wife, was the one that this is kind of her brainchild, but we figured we would start with the Mississippi Flyway because that's where I grew up hunting, and specifically Biomeda there in Arkansas. So it's always based on the surroundings there, and it's a slightly different green, that first Biomeda kennel. But it did really, really well. And as soon as we sold out, everybody was kind of hot that we didn't have any more to offer. And so then we went to the Pacific Flyway and did the cinnamon colored kennel based on the area of like Los Banos. But all that to say, the Ducks Unlimited green is y'all specific Pantone. I believe that use in your branding, and it looks great. I mean, it's really clean. It's got a Ducks Unlimited logo plate at the bottom, so the Gunner Kennels tags at the top, I believe, and the Ducks Unlimited logos at the bottom, and it looks really good. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, so are we. It looks fantastic. A couple of other new products and these don't necessarily fall under the partnership necessarily, or the licensed products, I guess. You got a Kennel Bowl and a fan kit, and these were brought to my attention a few months ago when you first sent the kennel, and then we didn't have room in the magazine, so I sent it all back to you, and then I had to call back to your office and be like, "Hey, can I get some pictures of these?" It's like they got shipped back and forth from my office to your office. I'm pretty sure about 6 times, but. Kind of talk about these new products too, because they're awesome additions to these kennels.
Yeah, the Kennel Bowl is an interesting one. It's doing well, but it's basically you mount a bracket on the inside of your door that goes in the little boss holes that are already on the door, and then it's got a bracket with a magnet, so it's like magnetically slides in and kind of positively clicks where it's supposed to be, and it's perfect for water or food. And that was a product that I was not as passionate about, but our customer service was constantly saying, "Hey, y'all need to think about this. This is what our customers want. Really should do a bowl that mounts to the door." And so I kind of took it as a litmus test of, okay, it's not something that I would necessarily go for, but let's do it and see how it does. And thankfully, I was wrong, and it's doing really well, and our customers really like it. It's got a little funnel so that you can add water to the bowl without having to open the door of the kennel. If you're traveling an area, you don't want to have to open the door. But it's a cool product. It's kind of, one of the smaller products in terms of just like shipping size. Everything we ship, I feel like, costs $1 million to ship because our boxes are so big. But that's doing well. And we've got the new fan kit. So it's the same body as our original fan kit, but we've improved it by amount of airflow. It's got 2 settings. It's got a high and a low. And essentially our old fan kit, which was great, that's the low setting on this new one. And our old fan kit would last between 6 to 8 hours. You'd have to take the battery out, and it was kind of wonky to take the battery out and charge it. And so this one's got a built-in battery where you can just take a extension cord and plug it in, or plug it into your vehicle to charge it. But on the low setting, it lasts about 20 hours, and on the high setting, it lasts about 8. But the high setting is like 3 times more airflow than the, what we currently offer and the low setting. It's got some indicator lights to show you how much battery it's got. And we've been testing it every day for, I don't know how long, but I know like a month ago we hit the over 1,000-hour mark. So the same unit's been running for 1,000 hours and hasn't given up. It's still very much waterproof. You can take a water bottle and just squirt water from the outside, and it kind of mist the dog on the inside and kind of, beefed up like the rest of our products. But it's a superior product to what we're currently offering. That's why I'm excited to kind of continue to make, if I know that something's possible to be made better, then we're going to go for that. There's one other one that I don't think we mentioned. It's a wheel kit. So this is for the intermediate kennel, and our large kennel has wheels on the back. So you kind of tilt it up like a dolly, and you can wheel it around almost like a wheelbarrow. And some of our customers were moving them from the vehicle to their home a lot, and just kept saying, this is a little bit bulky for me. Is there any way we can put wheels on this? And so we came up with a bracket that mounts through the drain plug of the back of the kennel. And it's got a bracket with 2 wheels on the back on each side. And so you do the same thing as large. You lift it up from the front and you can kind of wheel it around. I think that one's doing pretty well too. And it's a pretty solid, well-built product that I think's doing pretty well.
That's awesome. Yeah. You could have come out with a Gunner wagon, like just load them all up in a wagon, like tote it from here to there. Have a
Yeah, that's next.
The Gunner wagon. I'll take credit for that. One thing I wanted to ask you about, and I'm not sure, now you're probably really, really hands-on with product development, but not so much as far as like maybe the marketing and communication side of things. But one of the things that really resonates with our audience, and this as well, the Gunner saves, things that you guys have posted online where it's like a story of how it's actually like the hashtag Gunner saves, and your customers are sharing examples of how they got into an accident and the Gunner Kennel saved their dog's life. I think the first time you were on, you shared one that was one of, I think, the employees there in Nashville. But have you run across any new ones that you want to share that may be kind of a cool story for our audience?
That's a good question. We've got a couple that I don't know if we've told or not. I know that we only, it's kind of hard. I don't like the whole, if you love your dog, you'll pay this much money to save them. And that's just like, I'm not a salesman at heart. And so while we do promote it, number one, it's just kind of cool that it's able to hold up to some pretty vicious stuff. But, it's also it's a fine line of like shove it in your face, and it goes all the way back to like first trade shows we do, and still happens sometimes. Somebody will come up and go, "Well, I love my dog so much, they sit in the front seat," and I just smile and keep on going. When really, if you love your dog, you'd probably prefer it to be contained and in case you get in a wreck. But nobody ever thinks like that, and I don't want to be the one to kind of give that whole pitch. But we've had a couple. In the last 6 months that I know of 2 of them that have called and said, look, this didn't only save my dog's life, this saved my life. Kept the vehicle from crushing in a kept the vehicle from crushing in a rollover. One of them was actually in a flash flood to where they had to get out of the vehicle, and they went out the back because the kennel held up the top of the little SUV and got out. And it's pretty wild to hear some of those stories, and I'm not sure what we post and what we don't. And I've heard a couple through buddies that were like that the customers haven't contacted us, but I think for insurance reasons where there's been some bad wrecks and the kennel held up the roof of a truck, and I'm like, why won't they call us? They'd love to tell that story, but for whatever reason, I don't think we hear them all, but. I don't know. I've got mixed feelings about that because number one, it's something cool that it, saved the dog's life, but you don't want to just make it salesy, I guess. And I think that we do a good job at that of just telling the actual story of what happened. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was one thing that we did last summer with you guys where we shared one of those, on our social sites and it went viral, and like we were like, dang, this is and it was really just a good story. I didn't feel like it was salesy or anything like that. It was just a cool story that the kennel save the dog's life, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think, there's several examples that, our listeners here can go to gunner.com and check out. There's a bunch of different stories on there and some images and stuff that they can check out and look at. But I was just checking to see if you had any new ones. No.
Well, it's weird. It's like when it rains, it pours. We'll go, a month or two without hearing anything. And then the next month we'll hear of 1 to 2 a week. And it's like, wow, I guess, does that mean everybody's traveling or is it just random or what, what's the deal? But I'll tell you something funny is I just walked in and we keep getting invited to weddings. And I'm dying to go. I mean, I'm like, Emily, let's, these people took the time to invite us to their wedding. Let's go and have a blast and meet new friends. And scheduling is just so hard in childcare right now. But I just saw one that I'm going to try to make happen. I think it's in East Tennessee. And but yeah, it's funny that people would invite us to a wedding. It's kind of.
So this is just like a customer or someone that, uses your kennel that's, hey, we're inviting Addison to the wedding.
I think more Emily, but Addison and Emily, maybe. Yeah.
Hey, man, I'll be honest. You can just be a wedding crasher now.
I mean,
it seems like Gunner's doing pretty well. Yeah, that's exactly right. Anytime you want to take me along, I'm down. I enjoy wedding receptions.
Yeah.
Weddings, not so much. Wedding receptions, yeah, man, I'm down for that.
That's right.
That's pretty cool, though. I mean, that really shows how your customers are really kind of connected to not only your company but also you as the founder. I think that's a pretty good story.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it's just being authentic, and I do not like being in front of a camera, and I don't like, when I was building this, I was thinking Gunner's going to be the face of the company, and I never wanted anybody to know my name. But it's turned into kind of, okay, you got to go talk to these people or do whatever, but it's just, we don't want to ever have an inauthentic feel. And so we are who we are, and we're going to share what we can and just be real, because I mean, this is life, and there's no point in faking anything. And so I think we've done a good job at connecting and enjoy going out to shows and meeting as many people as we can.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before I get you out of here, I wanted to touch on something that is, kind of local there in Nashville with you guys, but it's called the Pledge 1% company. And Gunner is basically a proud member of that Pledge 1%, and just wanted you to kind of explain what that means and for Gunner and, even just the community there in Nashville. Yeah.
This is something that we always kind of did without really realizing it. If anybody, like, there was a tornado, a few tornadoes in Nashville, and some local shelters reached out that they needed kennels to contain all these dogs that were lost. And, obviously we just loaded up the trailer and drove over a bunch of kennels and it's something that, so basically 1% is you donate 1% of your time, your products, and your profit. So time is community service, where all of our employees can, I think I don't know how many days, but I think I'll have to get, I don't know. It's a couple days that you can pick, and you can go do any type of community service that you want for any nonprofit. Products is kind of like that tornado is, donate products to people or companies in need. And then profit is 1% of our annual profit will be donated to nonprofits of our choice. And it's just something that we wanted to formally recognize and commit to early on. I mean, even with everything rising in cost, as everybody feels, 1%'s a lot when there's thin margins and high shipping costs involved. But we feel like, that's the right thing to do. And kind of a feeling of service to the community and trying to stay involved in the community. So it's, I think we announced it a couple months ago, and it's one of those things, again, like, you don't want to sit there and beat your chest about, but it's just keeping that in mind to do good and make sure that we commit as a company to this is what we're going to do and give back.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's awesome, on a local community level, and then tying in, your guys' it's basically national level support for wetlands conservation through Ducks Unlimited. I mean, a portion of the proceeds of the DU kennel and food crate, I mean, that's, giving back to wetlands conservation, which, like you touched on, is very important. So you've kind of got the local community level, you've kind of got national and even international, really. I mean, if you think of North America as far as DU's conservation work, it's in Canada and Mexico. So very cool tie in there. And I'll be honest, I appreciate you coming back on here today. It's good to catch up with you, and it sounds like you're well on your way with Chevy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're talking on new products. The one cool thing about getting back into dog training specifically is there was like a week, about a month or two ago, where I came out with 4 new products just by training Chevy. And so being back in that training mode and being back in the younger dog mode, and there's constantly everything that I'm touching in terms of training. I'm like, this is a piece of junk. And so I will sprinkle that in there. I mean, it's probably not going to be till next year, but we're going to have a line of training gear that I'm really excited about.
That's awesome. Is it going to be Chevy branded or still under the Gunner brand? No, I'm just messing with you.
No, that's a good question. I mean, when I went and picked him up, he was a little puppy in his little small Gunner kennel in the front seat next to me. And like within a mile of leaving, I look over and there's a truck driving by with a Gunner kennel. And I look over at Chevy and I was like, Chevy, you got some work to do. Gunner inspired me to make that kennel that just drove by. What are you going to bring out of me? And so it's really cool being back in that new dog world. It's a lot of work and you just don't want to screw it up. But there might be a Chevy line of products, but there might be some trademark infringement with Chevrolet. So
yeah, I was going to say, you might want to watch that.
We'll have to figure that out.
Well, this has been great, Addison. I appreciate you coming back on. Appreciate your guys' partnership with Ducks Unlimited, support for wetlands conservation. It's fantastic. Hoping that everyone gets a chance to see that new DU kennel here soon if they haven't already in the May-June issue. But yeah, I appreciate your time, and thanks a lot for joining us. Absolutely, Chris. Thanks for having me, and we'll talk soon. Yep. Take care, Addison. Okay, thanks. I'd like to thank my guest, the founder of Gunner Kennels, Addison Edmonds, for joining us today and talking about the new partnership with Ducks Unlimited and some of their new products they've got out there. I'd like to thank our producer, Chris Isaac, for putting the show together and getting it out to you. And I'd like to thank you, the audience, for listening to the Ducks Unlimited podcast and supporting wetlands conservation. Thank you for listening to this episode of the DU Podcast. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And visit www.ducks.org/DU podcast for resources based on today's topics, as well as access to more episodes. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of Ducks Unlimited. Until next time, stay tuned to the Ducks.